Hi, my name is Chris Doyle. I am 21 years old. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, originally from Raleigh, North Carolina. Been riding for about 10 years, and I'm going to be teaching you some dirt jumping tricks this afternoon. So I hope you're ready to sweat! The first trick we're going to start off with is the X-Up. For the X-Up, what you want to do is approach the jump with plenty of speed, enough speed to clear it, maybe a little bit more so that you get higher and have more time to do whatever you want. Come off the jump. At your peak, that's when you begin the X-Up. It's basically turning your handlebars around, making an X with your arms, and coming out and landing. Whichever way you're more comfortable turning your handlebars, to the left or the right, that's basically which way you want to do it in the air. Make sure you wait until your peak, because if you come up too early, you're going to be too vertical, and it's going to be harder to flatten out and put your nose down for a smoother landing. Now, in order not to get made fun of by your friends and colleagues, make sure you keep your knees together. Keep your knees above your seat, almost as if you're pinching it, but you don't really have to. But keep your knees together. This is good, this is bad. Don't blow your legs out, because not many people are going to like that too much. After you've mastered the X-Up and you feel as if you got it pretty much down, you could then move along to the one-handed X-Up and the seat grab X-Up. Again, you approach the jump with ample speed, enough speed to clear it, a little bit more so you have more time. You come off the jump, again, you level out. Make sure you level, that's very important. And for the one-handed X-Up, you want to turn, as you're turning into the X-Up, you take the hand off. You don't take the hand off, then do the X-Up, and you don't do the X-Up, then take the hand off. You want to make it all one smooth motion so that you're turning and taking the hand off all at once. Now, when you're doing the seat grab X-Up, it's pretty much the same concept. As you begin to turn, you just grab the seat, turn the bars. When you're coming back, again, one smooth motion. You don't want to be holding onto the seat when you're like this. So it's just one smooth motion. You start turning, grab, turn the bars, and as you're coming back, put your hand on. If you remember to level out, then you'll be nice and level and you can land pretty smooth. Another thing is if your seat's high enough, you can pinch your seat and it helps keep the bike stable while you take your hand off. Because if they're bowed out, it's not going to look good and it's not as easy. So pinching definitely helps, but you don't have to do it. As long as you lean back and keep your knees over your seat and not bowed out, you should be fine. Moving right along with our X-Up variations comes the one-footed X-Up. It's a really good looking trick that you're definitely going to want to learn. It doesn't really matter which way you turn your handlebars. You can do the X-Up either way. Like anything, you approach the jump with plenty of speed, enough speed to clear, maybe a little bit more so you have more time. You want to make sure that the foot you take off is whatever foot you're riding with forward. So if your left foot forward, you take your left foot off. If your right foot forward, you take your right foot off. And you turn the bars whichever way you're comfortable doing the X-Up. When you take your front foot off, it makes the cranks go like this. And that way, when you're going to put your foot back on, they level themselves out so they're back to where you were. If you take the wrong foot off, you'll tend to land like that, which isn't good and it hurts your ankles a lot. So what you want to do is take your front foot off and you turn the bars, just like an X-up, once you have the X-up wired, of course. So you do the one-footed X-up, bring the X-up back, put your foot on. It's as simple as that. Moving right along, we have the tabletop. Again, you approach the jump with ample speed. What you want to do is approach the jump with plenty of speed. You wait till you're at your peak. And what you want to do is, if you ride with your right foot forward, you're going to want to bring this knee over, and this knee kind of goes down, this knee right here. And what you do is you push down with this leg, and you pull up with this leg, and it causes the bike to, go like that, like a tabletop. Some people turn their bars, some people don't. When you turn your bars, you can push it down, but when you don't, you can kind of use this hand right here to pull it up into you. Those are the two common ways. Either way is fine, and either way looks really good when done right. Moving right along, we have the no-footer. Now, I know the no-footer is not very fun to look at. It's not very fun to do. It is a building block for a lot of other tricks, such as the no-footed X-up and the no-footed can-can. For a no-footer, what you're going to do is you're going to approach the jump with plenty of speed. Do not take your feet off too early, and don't take them off too late. Again, you wait till you're at the peak of the jump, and that's when you take your feet off. Some people pull on the brakes when they do no-footers, and it keeps the back wheel from moving and your cranks from moving, or you can just keep your cranks and your chain tight, which I think is a lot easier. I would recommend taking your feet off small at first. Don't try to do it too big, but again, once you're comfortable with the no-footer, then you can move along to harder tricks such as the no-footed can-can and the no-footed X-up. Moving right along, we have the no-footed can-can. Now, the no-footed can-can takes a little bit of practice in order for it to look good. What you're going to want to do is you approach the jump with plenty of speed. Again, you take your feet off once the back wheel has cleared the lip. You don't want to do it too late, and you don't want to do it too early. So once your back wheel's cleared the lip, then you take your feet off. You want to lift both of your feet at the same time. That way it'll keep your pedals from spinning. Now, at first, you want to just make sure you're getting your foot over the tube. You don't want to try and push it too far at first. It's simple motions. Feet off, foot over with the foot off, then you bring your foot back over and put your feet on the pedals. Make sure that you're looking at your pedals at all times so you know where they are. If they move a tad bit, then you know where to put your feet and you won't get confused. The next no-footed trick is the no-footed X-up. You take your feet off once you're off the lip, then you do the X-up when you're at your peak, and then you come out of the X-up with your feet still off the pedals. You don't want to do the X-up, then do the no-footer, because you'll get sketchy doing that. And you don't want to do the no-footer, then the X-up, and then put your feet on while you're still X'd up. You want to make sure you keep your feet off the whole time, and that'll keep your bike from getting away from you and squirrely. Once you put your feet on, land clean right away with a smile.
Another good idea is when you're at the trails, you want to make sure you bring plenty of water so you don't get dehydrated.
Another trick that you may or may not want to learn is the bar spin. What you want to do is you come off the lip, you want to wait till your peak. Do not do the bar spin too much off the lip because then you're vertical and you're not going to be able to pinch your seat. Lean back on the bike, pinch the seat with your knees, and that's when you throw the bars, either to the left or to the right, however which way you're more comfortable. You're going to want to keep your eyes on the handlebars at all times. That way you know where to put your hands. Again, make sure you're looking at your handlebars at all times. Just remember, the most important thing is to have a strong hold on your seat so that your bike's not going to drop. And again, wait till you're at your peak before you throw your bars. A little tip that's definitely going to help you out with the bar spin in the air is to learn it on the ground first. You just roll along, both wheels on the ground, and you can just pull up, pinch your seat, and throw the bars. It's going to help you get the motion down of pinching your seat and throwing your bars. Moving right along, we have the tuck no-hander. What you're going to want to do is you come off the lip, you want to throw your bars into your lap and rest your bars there, and then take your hands off. You should do this all in one smooth motion, so you throw them into your lap and take the hands off. And grab your handlebars and push your bike back out in front of you and land both wheels. Now, the turn down's one of the hardest tricks to learn, but once you have it, it's one of the best tricks to do. It feels really good. Before you actually try the trick in the air, you want to make sure you know which way you're going to turn. If you're right foot forward, then you're going to want to kick out to the left and turn the bars to the left, making it look like that. Now, if you're left foot forward, then you kick the bike out to the right and turn the bars to the right. In order to do the turn down, you crank your front foot forward down and this leg comes up. Now your foot's gonna drag like across the top tube and you're gonna turn your bars like that, and this leg's out of the way because it's going straight across your top tube. You wait till you're at your peak of the jump, and that's when you start your turn down. And you wanna make sure you keep both legs straight at all times. That way it keeps your legs out of the way, because if they're bent, your knees are gonna hit everything and your bars are gonna hit your knees, and that's not really good. Then you come out straight and right away clean. Moving right along, we have the 360. Now, the 360 is going to be one of the hardest tricks you're ever going to learn. Don't start out trying it on a set of doubles. You're going to probably want to try a fly-out jump or a box jump. That way you can work your way up. You can start out just doing it onto the deck, and then the more and more comfortable you get, you can do it all the way over. Whichever way you're more comfortable, there is no right or wrong way. Some people do it goofy-footed, but there really is no right or wrong way to do the 360. But you turn, again, whichever way you're more comfortable, off the lip. And you want to keep your head looking the way you're going at all times. As soon as you get about 180 degrees, you want to spot your landing with your head. You want to look down over your shoulder to spot your landing. Now, when you spot your landing with your eyes, that's when you know you pretty much have it. Keep your eyes fixated on the point where you're going to land, and then put your bike there. Now, for some of you that are more advanced and are farther along than some beginners, to do it over a set of doubles, you want to come off the lip, you want to spin off the lip, whichever way you're more comfortable. And you want to keep your shoulder down, that'll keep the front end down, and keep your head moving at all times. If you stop your head rotation, then it's going to stop your bike. So keep your head rotating and look for your landing the whole time. You don't want to spin too fast or too slow off the lip. Again, make sure you have it down on a box jump or a tabletop. Keep looking over your shoulder, spot your landing before you're done rotating, and then put your bike there. And that's the simplest way I can describe it. In bike riding, bike control is key. Rhythm section is going to help you build style, and it's going to help you get emotion to your riding. What you want to do is, when you land, you want to keep your nose down, you want to pump with your arms and your legs at once. That'll help you keep your momentum going through a section. And when you land, you compress your speed, and then you pump up the next lip. Remember to keep your nose down when you land. Make sure you start off with a smaller section and work your way up the better you get. The bike that I ride is the DK Legacy. DK makes an extra long top tube for me because I like to have a lot of leg room. I'm 6'3", so I like to be able to move freely about the bike. My seat post is, yes, a little bit high. For me, it's perfect because, like I said, I'm tall. I don't run the gyro, even though I do bar spins. I have pegs on one side of the bike, the right side, just because that's the side that I grind on. I run a small sprocket because I ride a lot of ramp too and street. So that's my bike in a nutshell. Okay, now in closing, make sure that you're having fun with bike riding. Don't try to learn things too fast. Don't try and go out and learn tricks just because you want to be the X Games champ or something. Just try and have fun with it and do what you want to do. That's what's great about our sport, you know. There's no coach going to yell at you and tell you what to do and how to do it. Just do what you want to do it how you want to do it, and have fun with it.
Someone out the back door. Hello everyone, welcome to Woodward Camp. We're going to be doing the ramp how-tos. My name's Alistair Wynne, I'm 21 years old, from Chester, England. I've been riding about 7 years.
And I'm Ron Kimler, and I'm 31 years old, from White Lake, Michigan, currently residing right here in Woodward, Pennsylvania. And I've been riding BMX longer than Alistair's been alive.
Okay, so first of all, before you start riding, you might want to think about doing a few stretches, you know, just get your muscles loose. A few good ones. Just cross your legs. Do it for like 20-30 seconds with both legs, you know, and then with your arms, you know, just get them stretched up. It's going to help prevent, you know, muscle stretching if you give a fall or whatever. With your neck, you know, and then you're all ready to go.
All right, well, first off, you must make sure that you're wearing safety gear. I always wear my knee pads, elbow pads, you've got a helmet. You should always buckle it because you don't want to fall off and have your helmet fall off. I wear gloves because you fall to your hands a few times, you know, you want to have a bit of protection on your palms of your hands. I've got ankle guards for ankles, they're optional as well, you know, I always smack my ankles, so, you know, you should always wear pads and then you're ready to ride. Okay, the first how-to is we're going to learn how to drop in our proper way. So, and then that will lead into the which way you carve on a ramp. So, let's give it a go.
Okay, so dropping in. You want to start parallel with the coping. Your back foot should be closest to the coping. You just want to push off, nice steady speed. Just lift your front wheel, turn your bars towards the transition. Just roll in, turn your head, because your body will follow your head wherever it goes. Turn your bars, roll in, and then just give the transition a pump as you're going across the flat bottom, and you should be fine. Okay, you want to pretty much carve the ramps both ways, learn how to air both ways, but try and figure out the one that feels most comfortable on your bike. The one that you feel, yeah, this feels good. And then you want to work at that one slightly harder. Okay, peg stalls. The first couple of times you're going to try this, you're probably going to put your foot on the deck, but that's all right. If you're putting your foot on the deck, that means that you're leaning into the deck too much. You want to come up the transition and you want to just lean your bike over to the coping, because your body has to stay in the ramp and your bike just has to be on the coping. Lean your bike out and make sure your body's still in the ramp. So it's going to feel weird at first, but once you get comfortable, you're just going to be leaning in, slide your pegs onto the coping, pull it back, turn your bars, away you go.
Okay, once you're comfortable doing the peg stall, your next step is to do the peg grind. Do a peg stall, you're just going to go straight up the transition, stall on your peg, come straight back down the transition. The difference with the grind is that you're going to carve up the transition in the direction that you want to grind. Place your pegs on the coping, balance your weight centered over the coping, grind as far as you want. When you're ready to drop in, lean it back into the transition, turn your wheel down into the transition and roll away. And that's all there is to it.
Okay, so for a tire tap, you want to make sure that your brakes are at least working pretty good, so it's going to at least stop your wheel from moving. And then you just want to come up the ramp, nice steady speed, pump up the transition, go straight up. You want to turn slightly last minute, pull your brake, then you're going to land on your back wheel. You want to have your weight over the back wheel because you want to keep your front end in the air. You might pivot slightly on your back wheel, that's all right. Balance for a second, and then just turn your bars, hop your back end up, pump back down the transition.
Once you're comfortable doing tail tap, you're ready to try the manual. Basically, the tail tap, you learn your balance point on your back wheel. In a manual, you're going to take that balance point and roll across the deck. So once your back wheel comes across the coping, you push your legs down a little bit to kind of get your back wheel under you and find your balance point. When you find your balance point, you're going to try to roll just on your back wheel, of course, across the deck, using just your arms and your legs for balance and a little bit of brake feathering. That'll help you keep your balance as well. The object is to try not to really crank and pedal to save your balance. Just use your arms and legs and your brake feathering. Once you've done your manual, rolled across the deck, and you're about to drop back into the ramp, You either start leaning a little bit more forward to bring your front wheel down, or give yourself a touch extra back brake, and that'll bring your front end down. And then basically just bring your front end down right as you're coming to the coping and roll right in, and that's it.
Okay, for the feeble stall, you want to pump up the transition. As your front wheel hits the coping, you just want to turn slightly, kind of like a tire tap, but just don't go out of the ramp as much. You should land weight on the back peg because you want to make sure that connects to the coping, and then just place your front wheel just next to the coping, and then you're going to have to bunny hop out of the feeble because you've got to get your front wheel and all your body leaning in again. So bunny hop, turn your bars, turn your head, look where you're going, and just pump down the transition. For the feeble grind, you're going to approach the ramp with pretty much the same speed as the double peg grind, except for you're going to carve the ramp up. As your front wheel hits the coping, you want to lift your bike up and make sure your front wheel is just going to be following the coping. And your back peg is going to lock in, and then you're going to sit there, and then you're going to center yourself over your bike so that all your weight's just nice and proper over the coping. And then as you come into a stop, just bunny hop, turn your bars, turn your head, look where you're going, and then just pump back down the ramp. Smith stall. You want to come at it pretty much the same speed as the feeble stall and the peg stall. Just come up, and you're going to have, your weight's going to be over the front because you've got to keep your front peg on the coping, and then you're just going to let your back legs just drift out over the deck. You're going to be in a sideways, like kick-out position, and then you're just going to be able to bring it back, flick your bars, turn them inwards to go back down the transition, look where you're going, and then you're just going to have to lift your feet up and just get your back wheel over the coping and back down the transition. Okay, Smith grind. Same speed as a double peg grind and a feeble grind. As your front wheel hits the coping, you're going to lock it straight on. Your front wheel is going to lock to the coping right there. And then you're going to let your feet just keep drifting out towards the deck. And then you're going to be pretty sideways, but your forward motion is going to bring your back wheel back towards the coping. And if you've got your weight far enough over the front of the bars, your back wheel will just slide next to the coping. Just keep your weight over your front so your back end just floats over the coping, and then just pump back down the transition.
To do a disaster, you're going to head up the ramp with just about enough speed to pop out. As your front wheel pops above the coping, kind of lean your head and your shoulder down into the way that you're going to do your spin. Use your hips to twist to, spin a 180, land straddling the coping, I should say. If you run a small sprocket like I do, your sprocket's probably not going to hit, so you're not going to stall quite as long. You're just going to kind of hit your two wheels and pop back in. If you run a big sprocket, then you can actually stall the trick, put your pedal down and stop yourself. Stall there for a minute if you want before you pop back in. Once you're ready to pop back in, kind of throw your weight forward, push forward on the bars and unweight the back wheel, and that'll allow your back wheel to pop up and move right away. To do a sprocket grind, ride up the ramp, carving in the direction that you'd like to slide. Once your front wheel pops above the coping, you're going to push your front wheel down, back down to the deck. At the same time, you need to turn it so that you're steering your bike parallel to the coping. That's very important if you want to be able to slide it far. Make sure you're steering in the direction that you're going. When your sprocket hits the coping, you can put your pedal down for extra balance. For me personally, I do it the wrong way. My sprocket's on the left side, so I'm doing it opposite, which means that I put my back pedal down to help me balance. If your sprocket is on the side with your front foot, you can still use your front foot for balance as well. That's just not the way it works out for me personally. So shove your front wheel down, steer with the coping, put your pedal down for balance if you need to, slide to a stop, kind of use your body as a spring, and then pull up, bunny hop, twist your body into the ramp, and make sure you're steering your front wheel down the ramp and roll away. Once you're learning how to pump and carve the ramp and keep your speed up, it's time to learn how to do an air, because eventually you're going to pump fast enough that you're going to be above the ramp. You can actually learn the motion for doing an air lower than the coping, and that's probably a good idea so that you don't get hurt just trying it high in the air right away. Basically what you need to do is when you pump up the wall, pump at the bottom. When you kind of unweight yourself, actually bunny hop at that point while dropping your shoulder and turning your head in the direction that you want to turn. It's kind of all one motion with your head. You're dropping your shoulder, and your hips actually help you twist your bike around. So when your bike comes around, then set your bike back down and roll away. That's really all there is to it. You don't even have to do a full 180 turn to be able to pull it off. It just takes a little while to get the feel for it. Once you kind of get the feel for it below the coping and you can bunny hop and do your 180s and roll away, then it's time to maybe try to do it above the coping, do an air. Basically the only difference there is that you're going a little faster. When your front wheel hits the coping, then you need to bunny hop and you need to pull back a little bit depending on the steepness of the ramp so that you don't land up on the deck. So pull back a bit, do the same thing we just talked about. Drop your shoulder and your head in the direction that you want to turn. Use your hips to twist your bike around. Just try to point your front wheel back for just below the coping and ride away smooth. Once you're comfortable doing regular airs, you can try the alley-oop air. Again, you need to be very comfortable with regular airs before you try this one because you're actually traveling backwards through the air for a split second, and it's a little tricky because you can't see the coping quite as good as a regular air. Then the basic principle for an alley-oop, essentially you're just carving up the transition actually in your opposite direction as if you were going to do an opposite air. But then when you pop off the coping, you're still going to twist your normal way. When you hit the coping, start twisting your regular way, and then just keep your eye out for the coping. Place your front wheel just like a regular air and roll away.
Fufanu's. It's kind of the same motion as a tire tap, but it's a bit more precise. Your brake has to be working really good for this because you're putting a lot of weight onto the coping. So you're going to come up the transition, you're going to be staring at the coping because that's where you're going to place your back wheel. You come out, put your back wheel on, lock your brake, weight on the tire. Your front end might drop a little bit, but then you just have to pull it back. And as you're pulling your arms, you have to turn your head, look back in for the transition, turn your bars, pump back down the transition. Ice pick. You want to pump the transition, and then you have to really lean out for the ice pick. So you're going to come up the transition, you're going to place your back peg on the coping, and you kind of want to be leaning back and have your weight on the back end and be leaning in at the same time. And your arms are a big factor here because they've got to be really stretched out. Bars are going to be slightly turned, and then you're going to have to hop, bunny hop and level your bike out, turn your bars, turn your head, and then just roll back down and pump away.
Once you're comfortable doing ice pick stalls and manuals, you're ready to try an ice pick grind. Basically just a combination of those two tricks. Like any grind, carve up the transition in the direction that you want to grind, get to the top, throw your bike out into basically an ice pick stall position, but you're going to be leaned out into the ramp slightly more than an ice pick stall because of the extra momentum and speed that you're carrying up the ramp. So get your bike out into the ice pick position, then it's more similar to a manual at that point. You need to feather your brakes and use your arms and legs in order to keep your balance point. Slide it as far as you can. Your weight is going to be out into the ramp, and then slowly as you're slowing down in your slide, you'll be leaning in more and more. Then you just let your front tire drop it back into the ramp, steer down the ramp, and ride away. All right, nose picks. Ride up the ramp, just about enough speed to pop out, like most of these tricks. When your front wheel pops out above the coping, twist your body a little bit, shove your front wheel down while actually applying the front brake as well into your spot that you picked behind the coping. The closer your front wheel ends up to the coping, the easier it is to pull out of the trick. In order to help you learn to pull out of the trick, once you are stalled in your nose pick, you can drop to a Smith stall or to a disaster. For me personally, it helped me gain the confidence I needed to actually jump back into the transition out of the nose pick. And it'll also help you learn your balance point a little bit better before you commit to jumping back in. Basically, the only difference between doing nose pick to Smith and doing just a straight nose pick is a little bit more commitment. Keep your body weight leaning a little bit more into the ramp than you would. If you're going to do a nose pick and go right back in, your weight needs to be a little bit more tilted into the ramp like this, so that when you pick your front wheel, all you do is steer out of it. Once you hop back into the transition, don't forget to let go of your front brake so you don't fall on your face, and just steer down the transition and you're all set. Once you're comfortable doing nose picks, I guess your next step maybe is to try the toothpick, assuming you run the front peg, of course. To do a toothpick, it's very similar to the motion of a nose pick. You want your weight centered over the coping for a toothpick, so basically when your front wheel pops above the coping, you pull back just a touch, just enough to keep your weight straight above the coping, and then twist and shove your body down the same as on a nose pick. If you have front brakes, you should use them for a toothpick. It's not necessary, but being that your peg is on the coping and your front wheel is kind of against the transition of the ramp, if you do have front brakes, it helps to stabilize you and keep your body position, I guess. Also similar to nose pick is the fact that if you get into your toothpick and you're still a little worried about riding out of it, you can let your back tire fall down to a Smith stall and kind of learn your confidence the same way that we talked about with nose picks. Once you're ready to ride away, you're balanced on your front peg. Basically all you need to do is lean into the ramp a little bit, pull your front peg off with your arms, make sure you let go of your front brake so you don't endo, and roll away. And that's all there is to it. My personal bike setup is I run an FBM live wire frame with pretty much the full freestyle setup, all the bells and whistles. I run 4 pegs. I like to grind and do all my tricks both ways, so I still run 4 pegs. Front brake, not too many of us left, but I still like it. Gyro, and I run left side drive, which means my gear and my chain and everything is on the left side of my bike. I grind mainly on the right side of my bike, so that saves me from breaking chains and bending sprockets all the time. That's pretty much it.
Okay, well my setup is pretty much just a freestyle, lightweight trail setup. I run all McNeil parts like frame, forks, stem, bars, pegs, chain ring, they're all pretty good, strong, light parts. I run about 110 PSI because I like hard tires. You gotta have the pump, you know. And I just got 1 brake, 2 pegs, gyro, just a simple bike. Not too much craziness going on, just nice and simple.
To conclude the ramp how-tos, we'd just like to say don't get discouraged if you don't pick up these tricks right away. It took us a long time to get this stuff, and everyone's different. Some tricks you pick up real fast and some things take a little while, but keep the faith, you'll get it sooner or later.
Just have fun, and because you're going to learn these tricks when you least expect it. Just go out, don't try and put too much effort into like, I must learn this today. Just go out, have fun, and it'll just happen when you least expect it.
Should I stay? I don't know why I should stay. I'll probably die. It's been 6 months, you don't care about me. This happened once before, doesn't matter anymore. You decide to salvage what was left. You took more than half of what was left. What's up with that? Come on, come on. Should I stay? I don't know why I should stay. I'll probably die. Stay. That's why I should breathe. I've gotta try.
Hi, I'm Chad DeGroat, 28 years old from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I've been riding flat for 16 years. I recommend wearing shin pads when riding. It saved me many times. Try to ride in a quiet, smooth location, like a dead-end street or the back of a parking lot. Avoid high traffic areas. Tennis or basketball courts are always good. When learning a rollback, keep your feet off till you feel comfortable rolling backwards. Using a hill or a sloped surface can help. Put your feet on the pedals and you got it. For the basic peg wheelie, start off at a comfortable speed. Place your foot on the back peg, lift up the front end, always keep a hand on the brake, and use your leg for balance. Backwards peg wheelie is similar to the forward peg wheelie. Start off with an endo, which is applying the front brake, shifting your weight over the front wheel while standing on the rear pegs. Use your foot for balance and coast backwards. A mega spin is a combination peg wheelie and scuffing backwards while rotating. Practice a peg wheelie in circles first, then move up to spinning. A 180 bunny hop comes after the original bunny hop. Practice by rolling forward and picking up the bike. Turn your head in the direction you're rotating. A rock walk starts with rotating the back end around. Use your front brake, pivot the back end around, and then apply the back brake and pivot the front end around. Another good back wheel scuffing trick is the backyard. Step into this one by holding in the rear brake. Buzz your foot repeatedly. Try not to use your brake. Make your foot do the work. A log yard is a form of the backyard. Step into it by squeezing in the back brake. Stand one foot on the rear peg and the other on the tire. Press your foot down on the tire to control you, and your bike will go in circles. Keep your hand on your back brake and feather if necessary. Front yard. Scuffing on the front wheel, in a sense, is using your foot as a brake. Move your foot over your bars. Press on the front tire and lift up the back end. The best way to find the balance point of a hang 5 is to use a curb. Sit on your seat, apply your front brake, find the balance point. Push yourself forward. Once comfortable, push off and roll it. Keep your hand on the front brake. For a whiplash, you need a little more speed and to have some rolling tricks down, but give it a try when you feel comfortable. Place one foot on the front peg and the other on the back peg. Always have your hand on the front brake. Kick the back end. Try to keep rolling when the back end comes around. Keep a list of tricks you want to learn or ones you already have down. I've been doing it for 16 years. Walking into the side donut is the best way to get the feeling of rotating in circles. Don't be afraid to use your front brake. For the decade, do an endo like the backwards peg wheelie. Place your foot on the top tube. Shift your weight over the back wheel and stand on the frame and jump. A decade is a little more advanced. Learn peg wheelies and a few other tricks before learning the decade. A rollade is an advanced decade, rolling without brakes. Pull up the same as a decade. Tap your back brake if necessary. This is my flatland bike. 2 brakes, front and back, 4 pegs, and a gyro, which enables my bars to spin around, and a coaster brake. Pretty simple. Make sure your bike is in working order. Bring it to your local bike shop and have them tune it up if necessary. Most tricks can be linked together in one way or another. Use your imagination. The key to learning is to be on your bike as much as possible. The more time on your bike, the more control you'll have. But always remember to have a good time and take it slow. Don't be afraid to walk into tricks. It takes time and patience. If some tricks don't feel right, switch your feet, turn your bars backwards, try a different approach, but always stay positive.
Hello, my name is Nathan Wessel. I'm 26 years old. I'm from Bay Village, Ohio, a suburb of Cleveland, and I'm going to be teaching you some of the street how-tos, so hopefully we'll have some fun. All right, the first how-to we're going to check out is a basic manual. The key to a manual is, first of all, you don't pedal in the manual, you just pull up your front end, balance with your hips. A big key is to be even when you're pulling up on your bars. Nice and even, so you don't have to change anything. I'll get next to a building where my elbow's touching the building, and I'll lean back a little bit, and like your hips is the biggest thing of a manual. If you don't take like little cranks or anything. I'm just sitting here balancing against the building and leaning on this. Of course you don't have this when you're doing it actually, but you can get the feeling of your hips going back and forth. If my front end's dropping, I get lower. If my front end comes up, I can get higher or put my hips forward and it'll bring my front end down. So that's another thing you might want to practice a little bit. A parking lot's the best to start out at, just because there's lines on the ground, and basically what you'd want to do is ride towards some of the lines and pick your front wheel up at one of the lines and kind of have a goal for yourself. Make it to the next line. It might only be 8 feet, but you know, then you can start setting goals for yourself and go a little bit further, reach, you know, like 10 lines or whatever, and start beating your furthest manual. You know, you set goals for yourself and then you're gonna do good, you know, or you're gonna, you know, it'll be easier to start learning. So the smoother you are picking up your front wheel and keeping your hands nice and even, and like a lot of times your right or left arm's stronger than the other, and that could play a factor in why you're messing up every time you pick up your front end. So really concentrate on picking up your front end when you're doing a manual. And then the rest of it will start becoming a little bit easier. After you start dialing your manuals in and stuff, if you want to, start working on bunny hopping onto stuff and doing manuals. Start on real small stuff and then progress to either longer stuff or higher stuff. When you go to bunny hop on an object, or say you're doing it out of a ramp or out of a wedge, basically the smoother you land and you land in your manual position where you're not moving, you're totally locked in, the better off you are. It's awesome because a manual works out anywhere. That's what's fun about street riding. Like any object you can find, you can manual, and that's one of my favorite things to do is manual. So you can manual up banks, downstairs, tons of different things. So just use your head, be creative, and stay within your limits. All right, we're gonna move on to doing some grinders. The best possible place to start doing some grinds is probably go to your skate park, just because that's where you start getting busted when you start street riding and wrecking people's cement ledges and tearing off the paint and stuff. Probably don't want to go to City Hall and be grinding on their rails, just because you might be paying some pretty hefty fines, you know, and getting busted. So the best place to go is probably your local skate park, or I guess build some of your own ledges. Basically a ledge is going down, of course. So when you go to bunny hop onto that ledge, you want to bunny hop high enough you're going to get your front and back peg on. Right way to do it is approach the ledge, you know, with a comfortable speed, not too fast, not too slow. A good ledge to start on is one that's flat on top and then goes down, so you don't have to worry about hanging your back peg up on anything. And you want to bunny hop and kind of almost start to nosedive a little bit. You want to aim your front peg, and as you're aiming your front peg, you want to like kind of suck your back end up into you and kind of push it over with your arms and your legs, and just kind of shift your weight over, push your bars over, and push your feet over. Definitely start off with something like foot tall, knee height, and then you can work your way up to something that's like just under your bars, which is pretty high, you know, but you got to remember the ledge is going down, so, you know, if you have a little bit more speed, it's not going to be so high as 4 feet out if you got to gap out to it, but that's where you got to start being careful and make sure you nosedive enough to get on it. Definitely take your time, work your way up. Next thing you know, you'll be grinding some rails. You feel really comfortable grinding down the ledge a bunch of times, you could move it a step further and find a comfortable rail to start on. A good thing to start practicing on is a nice low flat bar on the ground somewhere, because it's a rail and you can figure out your balance a little bit. But if you can find a rail about 8 feet long, you really don't have to do much balance. If you mess up a little bit or you're lean too far to the one way or the other, you're not really going to screw up too bad, because it's only 8 feet long. You'll be on and off of it before you know it. But totally get comfortable with the ledge first, and you're basically going to do the same basic thing. And when you're approaching the rail, it's a little bit scarier because a lot more things can go wrong, you know, but think about it like, look at the ledge, you know, and just do that ledge a bunch of times where you're totally comfortable with it. And then when you go to the rail, just, you know, be confident and do the same exact thing, you know, just approach the rail with a good speed and just be confident. Don't let your front wheel get too high, aim your pegs, and chill. We're gonna move on to wall rides here. What you would want to do is find probably just a simple bank to wall or a wedge to wall, or maybe start out at your skate park. It's probably the best place. So you're gonna be riding up the bank, you're gonna start to pull up, and what you want to do is pull up so you actually land on the wall kind of smooth. You don't want to go 100 miles an hour into the wall and just slam into the wall and kind of blow up. So the key is to like pull up, you know, land kind of smooth on the wall, so you ride the wall a little bit, and then like nice smooth, just pull off and ride back down into the ramp. And if you start getting better and more dialed in at wall rides, maybe you can go quarter to quarter. When you're doing a wall ride off of a quarter pipe, you want to do nice and smooth, and you don't want to pull too much. You want to actually ride off the top of the quarter pipe and let your bike go into the wall, but you want to land so your body almost sinks down a little bit. And then when your body starts sinking down a little bit and you're against the wall with pressure, then it's easy for you to pull back off the wall and then make your ride back in. We're going to talk about wall taps. Pretty much it's a variation of a wall ride. Practice this on probably a bank to wall first. And basically it's a little bit harder than doing it on a tranny, but if you can learn this, it'll be definitely easier for you to do, like in the long run. Come off the wedge, you know you're gonna have to pull up a lot. And what you want to do is bunny hop, and then you want to pull back really hard in your bars, especially doing it on a bank to wall. If you're not kind of like in a position where you're just locked and just stuck, what happens is your front wheel will start dropping towards the wall and you're not going to be able to pull back off, and you're going to end up kind of nosediving coming in, and that's bad because that's what could cause you to hang up the coping coming in on a deck. You're going to land back wheel on the wall just all nice and stiff, and you'll land for a second and your body actually kind of starts to sink in a little bit towards the wall, and that's what's going to give you your pressure and your little edge to pull back off into the ramp. If it's just a bank to wall without a deck, you can kind of fall right back into the bank. You really don't have to do any work. After you get good at doing a wall tap on the bank to wall, it's time to step it up to quarter pipe to wall. And what you want to do is ride off the quarter pipe and just let all your forward momentum keep going into the wall. And what you would probably want to do is do some regular wall rides before you start doing wall taps, just to get used to like how you're hitting the wall and stuff. So the best thing to do though is like just approach it with your normal speed that you're doing a wall ride, and same basic thing, come off of the quarter pipe, push into the wall with your legs, and keep your front end away from the wall. If your front wheel starts dropping towards the wall, you don't want to try to go back in. If that starts happening and you try to pull back in, you're not going to have the pressure to pull back in. It's going to cause you to nosedive and hang up the coping. So basically you want to be in a totally dead stop position where you're not moving at all. Back wheel on the wall, front wheel out, and then just yank back in. All right, gaps, pretty much that's probably one of the main things that you probably think of when you're thinking about street riding. And gaps can be done on anything. You can do it down a stair, you can do it over a little sidewalk or anything. Basically, just find small stuff at first, you know, find a parking block, bunny hop over a parking block, I mean, if that's where you want to start first. And then you just got to make sure when you're doing gaps and when you start doing gaps that, especially if you're bunny hopping over something, you want to make sure you pull up early enough. Always just watch what you're doing, just keep it simple and don't rush into anything too fast, because taking something too far, you got to pay the consequences. Start out with small things, you know, and then just keep working your way up. And you can bunny hop over stuff, you can gap down stuff. Street gaps, there's gaps you can go to your skate park and do. You just use your head and just, you know, think about that object, like, oh, what can I do in that object? That's a weird thing. And gaps are definitely a really cool thing, like just riding around and chucking yourself off of stuff, I guess. All right, this is my bike. It's a 21-inch barcode. It's the top tube. I run a gyro. It's pretty much set up for a ramp, street, and trails and stuff. It's a little bit lighter than normal. Run 2 pegs, special ones. They're titanium covers like on them. They're the Turbo 1 pegs. Run a cassette hub, and pretty much run a dual cable system through the whole thing. Dirt tire on the front, street tire on the back, and that's my bike. Overall with street riding, just basically know your limits, and that'll keep you a little safer than just charging at stuff or trying something a little too big for you or whatever. So the biggest thing is know your limits, have fun, and stay positive with riding and have fun doing it, and that's the bottom line. So, see you later. All right, hi, I'm Nathan Wessel. I'm here to show you a how-to on how to build a small, little bitty launch ramp, basically. So I'm going to give you some ideas here on some tools that'll make your job and your life a little bit easier if you actually want to get into some ramp building, or this isn't all the exact tools you need. Pretty much you can use whatever you have. First of all, we got a speed square. You can use any type of square, you know, it just helps out. This one's awesome. It's just real fast for doing certain measurements, like a 2x6 is 1.5 inches wide and it's got all your little marks here. No biggie. Of course, you need a tape measure. A lot of measuring goes on when you're building some ramps, so that's a necessity. Any kind of drill, like I like cordless drills because cordless drills have clutches on them, so it's like drill stops right away, especially when you're putting stuff like coping and stuff on. Another real good thing is a chalk line, and that one helps me out a lot just with a lot of skate park building. It's not a total necessity. You could use a straight 2x4 or 2x6 or whatever. Real good one is a circular saw. You can actually cut curves and radiuses with this. You don't have to use a jigsaw like everybody thinks. You don't need this exact circular saw. Anything will do. One of the last tools that'll make your life real easy if you're building a lot of ramps is a nail gun. And this one's a Senko Frame Pro. It's the one I like using the most. So you can use screw guns or, you know, like hand nail it or whatever, but this one will make your life a lot easier. I don't know, that's about it though. And next thing you need is your wood and a good hammer. All right, most important thing with any power tool or any tool at all is wearing a pair of safety glasses. Any kind of glasses that have like a shatterproof lens, those are the kind you want. First, what we're gonna do is basically I found some just scrap wood laying around, and if you just want to do a launch ramp, you know, you don't have to get crazy or anything and go out and buy a ton of wood. What we're gonna do is we'll make let's see, a 3-foot tall launch ramp. This thing's gonna be 3 feet tall, and we'll have a small deck on it, and depending on the size of your ramp, you want to decide what size tranny you want to use. We're going to use a 9-foot tranny on this launch ramp, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to mark this guy at 9 feet, pop a nail through there. And that's what we're going to use to draw our radius out. I said we're going to do a 9-foot radius, all right? So what we're going to do is the bottom of our plywood, that's the bottom of our ramp. I'm going to measure 9 feet away, because that's what our radius is. Make a mark. And that's at 9. The little chalk line here. Okay, now our chalk line's at 9 feet. This is how you find where your radius is going to sit. Anywhere you put that nail at on that line, it'll line up and come, or your radius is going to come right to the bottom of the sheet. It'll find the nail where it hits the chalk line. We're on the chalk line. Give her a little tap. Just take your pencil on the end of your 2x6. Trace that straight down. We got a perfect 9-foot radius. And that's what your first tranny should look like. And next thing you do is just trace another one out. I mark all my 2x6s out that I'm going to put in every 8 inches. Your 2-foot mark's here, and if you go every 8 inches off that 2-foot mark, then your seam's going to be right here for your 4-foot piece, and then the next piece will go up. So all your seams are going to line up nice, and your first full sheet's going to go down and hit the ground nice. You want to be careful when you're marking these too. Try to do them as exact as you can. Right now I'm just marking a bunch of boards out the cut. All right, there we go. That's 11. Now we can do the fun part. It's always good to have a little bit of help on hand just to help you pick up some of the 2x6s and hold them in. It's hard to do it by yourself. Hey, hey.
Oh, what's up, man?
You're gonna help me for a second, so.
All right, what
All right, let's do this. And that one just gets nailed in nice and flat. And after you build this, you'll look at it and go, oh, it looks kind of flimsy or whatever, but nothing to worry about. As soon as your plywood goes on, the thing will be solid as a rock. Pop a couple nails in. And then you can just look on the side of your ramp where your ribs are at. And that's pretty simple, you don't have to measure. Second layer, and smaller pieces of wood like this, I'll go over every single nail to make sure it's getting sucked down. I'll do one more row, my second layer. I usually do more nails. She's ready to ride. Now it's time to play. There you have it. Take this wherever you want and go launch on top of some stuff.
When I get thirsty, it's only springtime artisan water for me.
Hi.
There's never time.
Remember, these tricks are only possible on my signature mode. I might have to break that camera. You can't have that one.
Just work on pulling up your front end and balancing. So, there.
Hi, I'm Chris Doyle, and I always bring plenty of water to the trail so I don't get dehydrated, miss. That's tasty. Actually, you ain't got no flavor.
Blah. Blah, blah, blah.
I hate me ramp though.
How to sweat. Sit in the roasting sun for 5 minutes being filmed.
Hi, I'm Chris Doyle, and I love water. Why? Because water makes me hydrated when I'm at the trails. Water's awesome! Awesome!
Hi, Chad DeGroat, 28 years old, from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Yeah, I'm from Green Bay. Woo, go Packers!
Oh, this is a disaster. Okay, for a disaster.
Hard with freaking heat, man.
I recommend wearing shin par.
Don't get like, this isn't phone sex though, Will. Take it easy over there.
Oh, so stupid. I'm sweating so bad.
It's always good to go both ways. It's always good to go both ways.